Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he's accepted the U.S. plan to end the Israel-Hamas war. President Donald Trump unveiled his 20-point plan this afternoon. Speaking alongside Netanyahu at the White House today, Trump said they were beyond very close to a deal.
If Hamas rejects the deal, which is always possible, they're the only one left. Everyone else has accepted it. But I have a feeling that we're going to have a positive answer. But if not, as you know, Bibi, you'd have our full backing to do what you would have to do.
The Trump plan calls for full aid to be immediately be allowed into the Gaza Strip, but famine has already been confirmed for more than 500,000 people in Gaza. So how much longer can Palestinians there wait for a ceasefire, and what happens if that ceasefire never arrives? Today, I spoke to UN World Food Program Deputy Executive Director and Chief Operating Officer Carl Skau, and we had our conversation just before Trump released details of the plan. It's been about a month, last month, that 500,000 people in Gaza, it was concluded, are in famine. How is the continuing offensive in Gaza City affecting things now?
Well, it's hard to find new words, frankly, to describe the situation. It's absolutely desperate. Now we have a few 100,000 people who have again been displaced. They're in these camps in the south that are overcrowded. You know, the sewage situation, the water situation is terrible, and there isn't enough food. Children are starving to death. So, you know, we just desperately need a ceasefire so that we can scale up our assistance. We are doing our best. We're averaging around 100 trucks per day, maybe. But because of the chaos, because of the insecurity, it's very hard to make sure that we reach those who are most vulnerable, the children and the women that are starving.
Well, just help me reconcile that, because you just said yourself you're averaging more than 100 trucks a day getting in, and when Israel is criticized for its control and its military actions causing famine and hunger, people point to 100-plus trucks a day going in and say, look, there's food getting in, there is no hunger there. How do we reconcile that?
Frankly, that's a drop in the ocean. I mean, we're talking about 2.2 million people, and so we need to scale up like we did during the ceasefire back in February, March. You know, we were averaging around 600-700 trucks a day. In 40 days, we managed to get 8,000 trucks in there. And, you know, we had bakeries, kitchens. We were delivering food to those people in their homes. So that's the kind of scale up that we need to reverse this famine.
Right. So rather than being able to scale up, a lot of international relief agencies are scaling down or stopping entirely. On Friday, it was Doctors Without Borders. They say that Israel's offensive forced them to suspend operations in Gaza City. We've seen satellite images showing neighborhoods being flattened and leveled. I mean, what's your sense of where the humanitarian consequences could be if this continues?
Well, the famine will spread. You know, it was only a part of the population that was confirmed to be in famine. But, you know, should this continue for a few more weeks, that disaster will spread to the entire population. It's not only the amount coming in, but it's also being able, as I explained, to deliver it to those most vulnerable into the camps. Because we have now a total breakdown of law and order. There is complete chaos in the south. In the north, we are not able to go at all because of this military offensive. And so, you know, we're really hopeful that the world will come together. There is an agreement for a ceasefire in the next few days, because shouldn't that happen, you know, the disaster will just deepen.
Is it possible the World Food Program may have to suspend operations the way Doctors Without Borders has?
We will continue to turn every stone to make it possible to save lives in Gaza, as we do in Sudan, Afghanistan, and other difficult situations.
If there is a ceasefire, I mean, how quickly can you scale up? How long would it take? I mean, with young children, there's a lot of research to suggest you can't reverse sort of the effects of malnutrition that is prolonged. But how long would it take to stabilize hunger in Gaza and try to bring things back to some level of normal?
I mean, we have enough food on the borders basically to scale up and deliver to everyone, you know, over a period of 2-3 months. So that's not the issue. Obviously, there is a question on, you know, how can we bring some order back inside so that we can actually make sure that everyone gets what they need. And I think you point to a very important point that when famine is declared, frankly, it's too late. Children have already begun dying, and those who are surviving have damages for the rest of their lives. I mean, we have a generation that will be impacted on this through their lives. You know, the starvation is a brutal death. When the body doesn't have enough food, it starts to eat off organs, bones, brains, and you know, you die often from a disease that would have been easily preventable otherwise. And if you survive, well, you will live with the consequences. So, we usually say that famine is preventable, but it's not reversible.
You're dealing with this and also the twin humanitarian crisis in Sudan at a time when the United States is sort of pulling back. The USAID cuts have had a profound effect in a lot of these areas. There's an over-reliance to some degree on the U.S. and an acute vulnerability as a result of it. How do multinational organizations adjust to that?
No, it's true that the U.S. has been particularly generous especially to us in the World Food Programme over the years. We now face a very difficult situation. We have a drop this year of 40% in our funding compared to last year. And obviously that's an equation that doesn't work out when you have two famines at the same time in Sudan, in Gaza, which is historic, unprecedented, never happened before. On top of that, we have globally 300 million people, almost the population of the U.S., being acutely food insecure. And so, ends don't meet here. Funding coming down needs going up. We're trying aggressively to diversify our funding. I just come from India, Indonesia. We're looking at new donors that could potentially emerge, but that takes time. So in the meantime, frankly, countries like Canada, Norway, the European Union, very important that your leadership continues to support multilateralism, to support these global solutions. And I hope that Canadians also feel that, it's not only kind of a humanitarian imperative or a moral obligation, it's also in our own interest, in the sense that this is also to provide basic stability in the world that benefits everyone.
Right. The migrant flows often are a result of hunger, war, famine, climate, and these things. But there is a debate in this country of reducing foreign aid. The opposition conservatives, the leader said today that money should not be going overseas in times of economic hardship here in Canada. How do you push back against that argument, or what is the counter-argument to that point of view?
No, but I think that there are, relevant concerns in Europe or in Canada or elsewhere. There are pressing needs also domestically. There are pressing needs to invest in defense, support Ukraine, no doubt about that. I wish it was possible to do both, engage globally, support, international cooperation, and invest in those pressing concerns. There's certainly money around. There is no doubt about that. So I hope we can do that. It is important to be able to condemn Hamas and what they did on the 7th of October and how unacceptable that is, but at the same time be critical when Israel is violating international humanitarian law in Gaza.
That 40% drop in funding you suffered this year, though, what have been the tangible consequences of that on the ground? The logistics of getting food in and distributing it is one challenge, but just not having enough money to provide supplies to the food insecure and the people under famine. What are the consequences of that?
It's terrible. I tell you, I've cut a quarter of our staff. 6,000 people have had to go from WFP this year. In a place like Afghanistan, we're moving from assisting some 8 million people to around 1.45, 2 million. That means that this winter in Afghanistan, children are going to die. There's no doubt about that. We're taking in every operation basically from the hungry to give to the starving. What happens with that is that next year, those who are hungry today are going to be in the starving category. So we're in a way just increasing the challenge, and the bill is going to be bigger down the road to save these lives. But yeah, it is a really tough moment for humanitarians. On top of it, we're being under attack in many places. I had 3 colleagues who were killed in Sudan 2 months ago. 2 weeks ago, 15 of my colleagues in northern Yemen were picked up by the authorities. So the kind of onslaught here on international humanitarian law, on the rules of the game, we see every day. So it is a tough moment, but we continue to make a difference, and countries like Canada is really making a difference in supporting us, both politically and financially.
So just as a quick final point on the financial support, is there a specific request for Canada, for other countries, like to try to help fill, obviously you'd like to fill that 40%. Sounds like you need it to grow. Is there a specific dollar amount request or percentage increase request that you're putting on the table?
No. We really just want Canada to hold the line that they have done over these past several decades, and to continue to play that leadership role. Countries look to Canada, and so there is that role that Canada has. And obviously, I think it gains Canadian interest as well around the world. There is a certain credibility that you carry, that is to the benefit also in other areas that is more directly also relevant to Canadian trade and other things.
Carl Skau, Deputy Executive Director of the World Food Programme. We appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.